All right, is everybody woke? I mean awake. I'm not trying to start now. All right, Darksiders, let's talk about the first 2 episodes of Amazon Rings of Power. There will be no spoilers here, and we will address the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about race swapping and all that kind of stuff because, you know, people are going to talk about it, and we got to put our 2 cents. Because I saw something in here that I think is interesting. I want to know what your take is on it because I wasn't really expecting it. So the first episode was just okay to me. I was not super impressed, but except for one thing in the first episode. Visually, it was absolutely fantastic, stunning. It felt massive. It felt like a world that Tolkien had written. The scale and scope of it was fantastic. So the cinematic approach in terms of how they shot it was absolutely amazing. And it looked stunning as well. So from a visual standpoint, I thought the first episode was really, really good. But then there are other aspects of the first episode that I did not like. I felt like the writing was not that good. I felt like the characters were really flat. It's an interesting thing, right? Because the characters had no weight. They had no gravitas to them. And I wanted to see more when I came across Elrond or when I came across Galadriel. They did not prompt the same feelings in me that happened when I saw them in Peter Jackson's work. There was not enough emotional weight to them for me in this first episode. It's a fascinating thing, right? Because though it felt very cinematic in its visual approach, it did not feel cinematic in its writing. It felt like the writing was almost more so for TV than it was anything else. And I think you need a good blended approach of the two. The writing as well as the visual cinematics all need to coalesce to bring us a work that feels like it's grand, that feels like it's powerful. And the first episode did not have a lot of power to it outside of the visual appeal. That was my main problem with the first episode, and not to mention that it was really just kind of boring. There wasn't enough action in the first episode for me. And I thought to myself, okay, see, look, Amazon, don't play around, man, because you're in trouble. People are already gunning for you. Some people already want this thing to fail. So you're going to have to come stronger than this. Enter the second episode. It was better in the first episode. Not only did it keep its cinematic appeal, but the characters felt better. The characters felt stronger. They had more weight. They had more emotional value to me in the second episode. And I thought the writing was better as well. And of course, there was much more action in the second episode. And I think we needed that. Had they given us a second episode that was like the second episode of House of Dragons, I know I'm going to get flamed for that, I think that Amazon would have been in trouble because I felt like the first 2 episodes of House of Dragons was pretty slow. But the second episode of Rings of Power was much more interesting in the storytelling and the different characters that we got to meet. All of these different elements came together much more favorably in the second episode because everything felt cinematic in the second episode. And that's why I really thought the second episode was really good. And I was like, okay, like I'm loving this. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the colored folks in there. Y'all see all them colors? So what's interesting to me about that is I thought we were going to get 1 or 2. We knew that we were going to get Dizza, the Black Dwarf, and we knew that we were going to get the Black Elf. And I thought, okay, so we got like a few of them, but they were everywhere. Like the colors were everywhere. They were all over the place. Every different race had some colors in there. And I thought, okay, this is interesting because they really have diversified the cast here. So when I saw all of that, I thought, look at how they're treating this. I didn't see any agenda pushing there. I didn't see any messaging. And if you did, please let me know in the comments. They were just different colored people within the races, but no one made any mention of the fact that they look different or anything like that. If anything, there was tension between dwarves and elves and the human and elves, but we've seen that kind of thing in Tolkien's work as well, so that's nothing new. But in terms of the colors in there, nobody made any distinction of the fact that they look different. And I thought that that was interesting, right? They're just there. Now, the reason that's interesting to me is because some folks have said to me, well, Al, I don't really care about the diversification of things. I just don't need you pushing the fact that that's there in the works that I see. I don't want to see that because I feel like you're pushing an agenda. If you're going to do it, just do it and tell the story. And I felt like this did that. What did you think about that? Did you feel that way? Or did you feel like you were being pushed an agenda because this is not how Tolkien's work originally looked? Now, let me just stop and say something right here, and I hope you get the sincerity of what I'm saying here. I know that there are some folks that didn't want to see that because they want to see a faithful adaptation of Tolkien's work and have it represented as he wrote it, and I get it. I understand it. I think it's important for you to hear this, for those of you all who are in this position. I do not think that you're racist or that you hate diversity because you want to see Tolkien's work stay the same. I don't think that at all. I understand your position. Now, I'm not in the same place as you. I think that the diversity here is fine as long as they keep the theme of what Tolkien's work was at the forefront, and they don't try to introduce 2022 agendas to work that was done back then. As long as that happens, I'm okay with that. But for those of you all that disagree with that position, I get where you're coming from. You know, no love lost between you and I for differences of opinion when it relates to that. Now, for sure, I'm sure there are some knuckleheads out there that don't want to see it because they do have some problems with race. I'm sure those folks are out there as well. But I do not think that the vast majority of folks that feel like they don't want the work changed have some kind of issues, or they're bigots or they're racist. That's not how I think. I just want you to know that. So what'd you think about this first episode of The Rings of Power, the first 2 episodes? Like it, didn't like it? Let me know in the comments below. Lastly, let me say this to you guys before you go anywhere. I mean, I love you guys. You guys are awesome, man. Our abilities to mix it up in the comments, I feel like, are unparalleled on YouTube. Nobody does it as well as we do it because we lay out strong opinions with passion, but we keep it respectful. I appreciate that for you guys. Thank you so much. Love you. See you on the next video. Peace.